Oh, this is a nice spot. Right by the railway line. Okay, Laura and I have just come down this track here and we're heading across to the other side. A bit of water in the way, but just a moment. There's a public bridleway. Yeah. Okay. There's quite a lot of it underwater. Okay, who wants to swim? Unusually, this is a cycle path. It's a very narrow cycle path. And I'm going, ooh, hang on, it's coming to the end. What's happening here? Oops, just a minute, round the corner. Wow! Now that is something else. A little cycle path attached to the railway bridge. I'm cycling over a railway bridge. Yep. Precariously. Did it! Just. This is unbelievably, utterly beautiful. In the shadow of Sellafield nuclear site is a graveyard full of bluebells. Oh. And next to it, these two ancient Celtic crosses. And then there's this little church. The Church of St. Bridget. I love this. There's been a religious institution here for donkey's years. It was an old monastery here for many years, and then this very plain slate-roofed church was put up in the 19th century. It's only used 3 times a year now, but when I look around I can see that it's got these extraordinary gravestones, so it's been well loved. Oh look, there's a walkway of buttercups. Lovely. There's a little door here. Let's have a look. Oh, it's open. Good heavens. But then we've got this sandstone altar. Wow. This looks like the spot for a Martin Mallet name tag. Oh, here's something unusual. Underneath each of the pews is a little step, and that is to put your feet on, but if it's cold you put hot rocks or coals underneath there and keep your feet warm. There you go, central heating in a little old church. Amazing, isn't it? There's the spot. Right, Martin, in you go. You and me, ma bubba, together in St. Bridget's Church, Beckerton, Cumbria. Now this is St. Bees Priory. It's a very special place because here in the 1980s they dug up St. Bees Man. You know the King of the Car Park story with King Richard? You know, the first 2 hours are free 500 years later. Well, here we go. This is even older. Back in 1367, a fellow was buried here in this car parking area. See where those bricks are there? That outlines where exactly St. Bees Man was found. Now, for entranceways, you can't get much more spectacular than this, with this lovely stone arch and that door. Wow! I want a door like that. Ooh, inside is a real wow factor. I like this. Now, let's have a look at our St. Bees Man, Anthony de Lacy. And he's found wrapped up in a lead coffin. Amazing. He died in Lithuania and he was on crusade, and they brought him home in a lead coffin, which would have weighed 70, 80 kilos on top of his weight, so you're talking about 150 kilos. They loaded onto a ship, brought it across the country, and this is what he looked like. Yikes! That's terrifying. Imagine opening the coffin and finding that. Ooh! They've got a lovely exhibition here showing what happened when they opened up the hole outside and discovered this lead coffin, and there's this body inside with the skin and tissues and all the organs and everything, and because of that they were able to do a post-mortem and to identify him exactly, work out how long it had taken him to die, what had killed him. Crikey, what an extraordinary discovery. St. Bees man, what a fella. This is a nice street. Main Street in St. Bees. Nothing unusual about this, apart from this house, Nursery Cottage. It's got something unusual on the side of the wall. See that? You know what that is? That's a boggle resting place for witches to park their broomsticks. So if you're a witch coming to St. Bees, head for Nursery Cottage and park your broomstick just up there. It's for you. See those wind turbines? That means it's windy. Yep. And I've just come round the corner and I've got one of those moments, those special moments, because I'm looking across the water here. Now we've got sheep in the fields, and then we've got whitecaps on the water, and beyond that we've got the hills of Scotland. Yep, it's my first glimpse of Scotland. I'm probably about 40 to 50 miles from the border with Scotland at Gretna, so I'm a couple of days away from being over there, but I'm looking at it and it makes my heart sing. I realise I've done 2,000 miles from Paddington Station. This is one of the most magnificent stretches of coastline. I'm along right by the sea on a big wide platform here with the sound of the waves crashing. A view across the Solway Firth to the mountains of Galloway. All along this coast here there are these benches named after various Roman emperors. In fact, you've got the whole history of Roman Britain on benches between Maryport and Allenby. Isn't that cool? And here I am coming round the corner of Cumbria, heading towards Scotland over the other side of the Solway Firth. Yay! Happy little mallet! Reach our potential. Yes! Yes! These little feet pedalling away is what's got me here. It's amazing. Love it. So thrilled. It's a little strange to come across a statue of a king on this route, just on Hadrian's Wall, but this is King Edward the First, the famous hammer of the Scots, who died here in Brough by Sands on the 7th of July 1307. 777. Yeah. It's one of those lovely little numerical coincidences that is always remembered. He died at the age of 68. I think he looks a lot younger here. He died of dysentery. He'd been to see the monks a couple of days before at Lanercost, probably to ask if they had any Imodium, but he was getting considerably more painful and really suffering. And when he was found dead in his tent, they kept it quiet from the troops. They didn't want to alarm anybody or alert the Scots in case there was a surprise attack. And he was, of course, succeeded by Edward II, his son, the one who famously came to a grisly end with a red-hot poker. But that's another story. This is Edward I. There's been a church at Brough by Sands for over 900 years, and if it looks a bit like a castle with those turrets on top, well, it was used as defence, especially when cross-border raids were happening. You'd bring your wife and family and sheep and cattle, herd them inside. And when Edward Longshanks, because he was 6'2", died, they brought him to lie in state in here. So they came through this tiny little door here, down the steps, and brought him in here. So in a tiny little parish church like this, they'd have his bier laid out here, and people would come to pay their respects. Edward II came, exactly. And then this is the little defensive area here. You see the gate? This is where you'd hide everybody in this tiny little area here. And climb up the stairs to look out and make sure it was safe to get out. It's weird, isn't it? Tiny little thing. To think that a parish church like this has had a king lying in state in here is amazing. One of the things I like about being inside Carlisle Cathedral is they've shortened it. It's a tiny little nave here. It's like been cut in half. But this end, it has got a little surprise. Look at that roof! Woo! That's a starry roof. I'm impressed with that. But the thing I absolutely love and adore is a very modest memorial to somebody I think is an utter hero. And here's the story. During the First World War, clergy were brought in to be chaplains to the soldiers. And Theodore Bailey Hardy was chaplain to the king, but he was also a chaplain in the First World War, and he's known as Woodbine Willie. And he would go out into the trenches and into no man's land with a packet of fags, and he'd go and find the wounded soldiers, and he would say, "It's only me that brought you a ciggy." And he would then give them a blessing as these poor troops lay dying in the no man's land. And for this, he was awarded the MC, the Military Cross, and the Victoria Cross. Wow, this is a chaplain. And he died October the 18th, 1918, just before the end of the First World War. And his memorial here reminds me that, this bloke was an utter hero.